News on the Mueller front tonight. George Papadopoulos, the first Trump campaign advisor to be arrested in the investigation, is now heading to jail. But late this afternoon, a federal judge sends the former campaign advisor to what? 14 days. Who gets 14 days for anything? Aboard Air Force One, President Trump sought to distance himself from him. Let's listen.
I see Papadopoulos today. He's going to be. I don't know Papadopoulos. I don't know him. I saw him sitting in one picture at a table with me. That's the only thing I know about him. I don't know him. But they got him on, I guess, a couple of lies is what they're saying.
I don't know nothing. Anyway, Papadopoulos pled guilty to repeatedly lying to FBI agents. And since the special counsel investigation was actually launched, Mueller has indicted or secured guilty pleas now from 32 people and 3 companies. That's 32 people indicted so far. For more, I'm joined by Julia Ainsley, NBC News national security and justice reporter, and Greg Brower, former U.S. attorney. Both of you know this story. Just give me a sense, Julia, because I've been counting on you to do this. How is this Papadopoulos guy? He's this young guy, 29 years old. We've pictures him at that meeting. Then Trump says he never met him, and there he is sitting at the meeting. How's he fit into the Russian whole thing?
So he really fits into what kicked this off in the first place. We understand that he had some kind of like drunken conversation with an Australian diplomat, and that could be one of the critical things that kicked off the investigation into this possible, conspiracy or collusion. Yes, this in particular, because he was offered dirt from this professor in the UK, Mifsud, for dirt on Hillary Clinton. And he apparently went and spoke to the Trump campaign. Not only did he offer that, but he also offered a meeting, perhaps, between Trump and Putin. So he was definitely someone who was trying to use these connections as a young person to get ahead in the Trump campaign. But what is not clear is who took the bait, who actually decided to go forward, or if anyone did.
Was it Sessions?
Well, we don't know if anyone at all did.
What I find fascinating is Sessions was apparently the one who seemed interested in what Papadopoulos was proposing in terms of a hookup with the Russians, and he's also the guy who later recused himself, and that's why Trump's so furious at him. He was the one who stuck his nose into it, and he's also, anyway, on his way to North Dakota today, President Trump once again denied any contact with Russia. Let's listen to the president.
There was none. There was no talking to Russia. There was no phone calls. I didn't make phone calls to Russia. I didn't receive phone calls. I didn't have meetings. I didn't have texts. I didn't have anything. I had nothing to do with Russia. Nothing to do with Russia.
Greg, let me ask you about this sentence. I guess most people wonder about an 8. Well, let me look at this first. However, last week, Papadopoulos' lawyers said Donald Trump had approved of efforts to set up a meeting between Trump and Russian President Putin during the campaign. According to a sentencing memo, the lawyers wrote, eager to show his value to the campaign, George announced at the meeting that he had connections that could facilitate a foreign policy meeting between Mr. Trump and President Putin. While some in the room rebuffed George's offer, Mr. Trump nodded with approval and deferred to Mr. Sessions, who appeared to like the idea of a hookup and stated that the campaign should look into it. This is pretty close to the bone here.
Well,
right?
That's a sentencing memorandum in which Papadopoulos' lawyers were trying to hopefully get a lighter sentence for him, which they managed to achieve in large part. There's no transcript of that meeting. The Attorney General has denied that that's the way it happened. There's no quote.
What did he get for a reduced sentence? Why did he only get 2 weeks?
Well, I think it's twofold. I think the special counsel won with respect to this sentencing because they were asking for some jail time and they got it. I think Papadopoulos won in some respects because he didn't get very much jail time. But I think in large part the judge felt that Papadopoulos was remorseful and also probably didn't completely buy into the government argument that Papadopoulos' misstatements were tended to significantly undermine the investigation.
I think that's key here. It's not that it was cooperation in any piece. In fact, they canceled the cooperation interview with Papadopoulos because they found out he was talking to reporters. But it seems that the judge thought he was very remorseful. He said he wanted a second chance. And really, the government only asked for 30 days here. That was the sentencing given to Alexander van der Zwaan, the lawyer who was also indicted for lying to the FBI in the Mueller probe. So they got about half of that. I know it seems like a lot less when we're talking about Paul Manafort looking at 10 years, but the charges here are very discreet, and then a lot of times the judge says someone wouldn't even go to jail, and you may know this more, for lying unless they had a criminal background.
But didn't his lying to the agents allow this agent to escape they were going to try to grab?
the professor.
Right.
Yeah, and look, from a former prosecutor's perspective, I think everybody who's ever prosecuted a case would like to see someone who lies to agents get more time than 14 days. But again, he did get some time, so that's a win for the Mueller team. The judge just apparently thought that he didn't deserve more time than that.
But just to finish this up, he must have given him something. What did he give him?
No, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I don't think we know that. I think that he was actually someone who, it seems that the sentencing is not reflective of any cooperation. And the Mueller team actually got pretty frustrated. What they have from Papadopoulos is tons of emails and texts. They know exactly who bit on that bait that he was offering. They don't need Papadopoulos' cooperation to get those answers.
And I would also say, Chris, that if Papadopoulos' cooperation was significant and ongoing, you would not have seen a sentencing today. It would have been postponed, as the Flynn sentencing has been postponed.
Thank you very much for the nuance here. I thought 2 weeks meant nothing, but apparently it means 2 weeks.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.
Actually, President Obama delivered those pointed remarks today about the current president. And they were the toughest remarks he's made, of course, since leaving office. Nothing like it before today. Obama warned his supporters that these are extraordinary and dangerous times. He knocked Trump, of course, for attacking the press, for pressuring his attorney general to punish political opponents, and for not standing up clearly and unequivocally to Nazi sympathizers. Well, the contrast couldn't be sharper between these two guys.
The closer that we get to Election Day, the more those invested in the politics of fear and division will do anything to hang on to their recent gains.
Their policies are horrible. They're for open borders, meaning let all the crime come in. They're against so many things that you want.
It shouldn't be Democratic or Republican to say that we don't threaten the freedom of the press because they say things or publish stories we don't like.
The latest act of resistance is the op-ed published in the failing New York Times. It's really dangerous, and it's really sad for the media and the mainstream media.
You need to vote because our democracy depends on it.
They like to use the impeach word. Impeach Trump. Maxine Waters, we will impeach him. If it does happen, it's your fault because you didn't go out to vote.
I'm joined now by Adrian Elrod, who's former director of strategic communications for Hillary for America, and Michael Steele's former RNC chair and MSNBC analyst. You know, he's back in the fight again, and I think that he was careful today, and I think the former president is wary because he's seen what happened to anybody who gets into the arena with Trump. You start talking trash talk with him, he trash talks back to you, you look smaller. It's very hard to stay fighting with a guy.
I don't think that's the case with Obama. I think Obama's a different type of player on that space. We saw that at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, where he systematically deconstructed Donald Trump in front of Donald Trump, and has a very biting way to do it. It is sort of a highbrow approach, for sure, but no less biting. And I think the president is planning to do a couple of things here. One, obviously to engage the base and get that Democratic vote out there, but also to be that voice that's a counter voice to what's out here now, because that doesn't exist in the Democratic Party. Who is that individual? It's not Cory Booker. It's not Kamala Harris. It's not.
There's no leader of the Democratic Party.
There's no leader who can stand in with stature, to your point, and make the case about a different America, well, America that we thought we knew, you know, as opposed to the one we're in. I'm not
saying, Adrian, that the former president has a glass jaw, that he can't fight, but I have watched the Trump method. Draw the other person into the pit with you, get the other guy or woman to take shots at you, make them at your level, and then the other person lacks any moral advantage.
Yeah, but I don't think Obama cares. I mean, he sees this as there's a much higher calling right now, which is to try to unite the country. Yeah. And to your point, I mean, he does not see himself as the face of the opposition, the face of the Democratic Party. You may recall, Chris, of course, when President Clinton, when he was the 2 years after he was president, he did sort of take on that role. He was out there more, he was more visible. President Obama is not doing that, but when he does speak, he draws a lot of attention. He's trying to unite the party. He's trying to unite the country, and that's what he sees. He doesn't care if President Trump tweets at him.
Well, we'll see. President Trump wasted no time responding to Barack's remarks. Here's what he had to say during a fundraiser in North Dakota.
I'm sorry I watched it, but I fell asleep. I found he's very good for sleeping.
Okay, here's what I think he's doing. You guys are not going to help me here. I can tell you not. You're all playing it straight. I think he's taunting Obama. He's saying, go get nastier than that. Come on, come at me. Because then if you get nasty against me instead of this, don't be too high level with me. Give me some purchase here.
But, Chris, that is not Obama's style. They call him no drama Obama for a reason. But he does have a way, and we've seen it. I mean, it's not something that is unknown to us. We've seen the president, former president, take on adversaries in a way in which he scores the points he needs to score. And to
you like when he made fun of The Apprentice?
Yes, exactly. So he has a way of doing that. Now, is that entertainment for us? Possibly, to a certain degree. But I think there's something bigger and more important here because this last 2 weeks, Chris, has been a real exposing of some deep fissures in the country, and people are beginning to realize just where we are. And so now there are voices starting to emerge, this op-ed. Other things are starting to happen that are setting a different stage. Now, we'll see how it plays out. You may ultimately be right. But I give Obama an equal footing on this.
Here's what I think Obama's doing. He basically gave a political speech today, colored in non-political language. He said, even if you don't like the Democratic Party on immigration, even if you don't like them on what do you call it, regulation. You think there's too much big government. Even if you don't like him on abortion issues like same sex, even if you don't like any of these things, here's a chance to punch back at the Trump. In other words, this is an anti-Trump opportunity. He was broadening that tent to include everything but Trump's kids.
But he gave
and vote Democrat.
But he gave an aspirational speech. The contrast that you just showed was incredible. And I think what he's also doing is reminding people, if you want to take back your country, take back democracy, you got to vote. Voter turnout in the midterms is notoriously low. You know that, your former RNC chair. So we got to see turnout if we're going to actually win back some of these House seats and possibly take back the Senate. And
is Hillary going to run next time?
No.
I had to ask you before because I keep hearing these rumors that John Kerry's running, that Biden's running, that Hillary's running, that everybody is running. I keep hearing this, but I'm wrong, right?
She's made it very clear on multiple
None of these older people are going to run.
I don't know, but I can't speak for John Kerry, but...
What do you hear, Michael?
Look,
I keep hearing they're all running.
No, I don't hear that they're all running. What I do hear is that of the list you just mentioned, Biden is the one that everyone's got an eye on because, and I think of that list, he is the strongest one to move forward. And I think the country.
It's January.
Age won't be an issue in this next battle.
Really?
No.
Have you been following these Democratic primaries?
I have.
Women are winning, minorities are winning, younger people are always winning.
You're talking about the presidential race. I don't think age is going to be a factor there necessarily. It may play down ballot and other things, but not here.
You agree with that?
I agree, and I think people are going to want somebody who is experienced and somebody who can just come in and take our country back.
I'm with the Tony Bennett model, which is the older guy the young people like. Anyway, Adrian Elrod, thank you. Michael Steele. I think this is too mature an audience here.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.